Yeah, just a minute. I have started the recording. So, do you have any questions on the positioning system of? Okay. Have you completed the homework? Okay. So you have pushed on the Git as well, right? Okay. Fine. No problem. I'll check it later on. Now, today we are going to start very important topic, that is today we are going to start very important topic, layouting. So yesterday we have seen that positioning and layouting can come under one topic. I want to build some classy layouts, and for that I would be adjusting my elements position. That is nothing but what a layouting is. Okay, so here I can create new file, and you cannot see my screen, right? Now, okay, so I have shared my screen. My recording is also on, so you may ask me for turning on the recording as well. Okay, in the morning you may ask me or remind me for enabling the recording as well. Okay, CSS3 layouts. So in the layouts, yesterday we have seen positions. So yesterday we have seen CSS3 positions. Are you getting any background noise from my end? Hello? Okay, CSS3 positions, CSS3 layouts. So when you say layouts, we talked about what do you mean by layout. So this is the position we talked about. Now consider that you need to develop something like this. You need to develop something like this. Hello? Say that again. My side what? Background noise you are getting. Okay. So here if you can see, I want to create something like this. I want to create something like this. Then you can position these elements by means of positioning. But before positioning, now look at this. So new collection is over here. Join now, login buttons are over here, and here there is one image. Or you can see this. There is a result. Below the result, some text is there. Here some text is there, and this box is there. So how these things are aligned? See this. So this is one column. This is another column. You may look to this layout in this way. That first column contains some information. Second column contains images or map. Or you can consider this. So this is a heading at the top, then one paragraph, then one button, then image, and like this. So you want to arrange. Let's consider this. We need to arrange something like this. A new collection, a heading, below the heading little paragraph, two buttons, these three dots, and what you can say, this image over here. And at the top there is a nav bar. At the top there is a nav bar, new collection, these two buttons, this image. So you may consider something like this. If you can, so this complete is one page. So this much is what you can say. This much you can consider one section, a nav bar. Then if you can see, we can say information. This much is the information and this much is the image content. So this can be one div, this can be another div, and we need outer main container also. So this is the main container. So inside this main container, how do you place these, two divs? How do you place these two divs? That is important. Getting my concern? Hello? What do you mean by layout? How do you place this navbar at the top? Then how do you add this main container around this? Then inside this, we can say okay. So when you can say, sorry, so here you can say, so main container is blue one and these two divs are in the red one. But my question is that how do you place these two divs, one over here, another over here? If you try to add the div right now, you place one below other. Yes or no? If you try to add two divs, a natural ordering is one below other. That's what the natural ordering is. Correct? Now, how do you arrange all these things? And there comes layouts into the picture. There comes layouts into the picture. Now, what do you mean by CSS layout? So how do you define the layouts? Arrangement of the elements in certain order, right? Arrangement of the elements. So when you talk about layout, CSS3 refers to arrangement and the positioning of the HTML elements within a web page. CSS3 layout refers to arrangement and positioning of HTML elements within a web page. It involves what it involves. It involves using CSS, cascading style sheet properties, and techniques to control their visual appearance, spacing, alignment, interaction of the element on the screen. CSS3 have introduced, here you can say, CSS3 introduced various advanced layout features and capabilities that allow developers to create the responsive, flexible, and visually appealing design. These features include Flexbox and grid layout. Very important thing, flexible box, that is a Flexbox, and the grid layout, positioning methods. Yesterday we have seen media queries. We are going to see later on media queries. The CSS3 layout techniques enables developers to precisely control. CSS3 layout techniques enable developers to achieve precise control over the structure and presentation of the web content. adapting the different screen sizes, orientations, while user experience and usability. So these things we will see later on. For different screen sizes, how it will work exactly, orientation, how it will work exactly. But if you want to make this structure, you need something called as layout. So first layout we are going to see Flexbox. Very important thing, Flexbox. Flexbox. First layout type we are going to see as a first Flexbox. What is the Flexbox now? Then we are going to see grid layout. This might take 2 days. Grid layout. This might take 2 or more days because this is a very important concept. Hello? Yeah. So we already have created the folder. I can create a new file, flx1.html. Sorry, flx1.html. New file, flx1.css, html5, and flexbox one demo. We are going to see a lot of demos in the Flexbox. Let's import the CSS, flx1.css. So we can imagine we are developing this layout. We can imagine we are developing this layout. Correct? We can imagine we are developing this layout. So top one. So how do you divide it? So you can divide it something like this, a main container. Okay. There is a header section. Inside header there is a nav bar, and below the nav bar there is a main container. Into the main container, so we have created this nav bar. So we can consider this whole as one div. We can consider this whole as one div. Okay, let's add it. Sorry, div, one div, and another div. Okay, so CSS has already been imported. So we can say now we will use element selector. Now, before doing anything, say HTML and body width 100 VW, height 100 VH. Okay, then header and main width 100%, height, header won't, okay, just this is for main 100%, and below that, above that, we have a header. We need to set the width of the header 100%, and height we can say 80 pixel, and let's give a background cadet blue. And so let us see this gets created or not. Now flx1.html, I'm just copying this Can you see it has created little nav at the top? To the main also we can give some color. Cornflower blue. Main. MAIN main. Okay, I have used, we need to use a background color. Cornflower blue. Can you see? It starts from here to here. Hello? So what happened now? So this thing we have achieved. So there is a nav, little nav, and below this content. Yes or no? So this is the nav, and this is the content. Now my next question, if you look at this layout, how do you add this part and this part? So this can be placed in one div, all these things, and this can be placed in one div. But if you try to add div over here, so we can name this guy as info content and image content. Okay, so we can create the classes, class info content or info div, class img div. Correct? Any question? Hello? Info div and dot img. This is clear, right? Img div. Let's give some height. We can give width as 30% and height as 20%. Or here we can give 60% width, and here we can say here 40% width. And let us give some background color. Brown. Background color crimson. Can you see it is one below other? So this is a 60%, this is the 40%. My question over here, I want to place this guy into this 40%. I want to place this div into this part. How do you do that? Using absolute position. Okay. And what will happen if I use absolute position? So where should I use absolute position here? In the image div. Position absolute, right? Position absolute. Top 0 and left 0. That is okay. It went over here, but I need over here exactly after this. So you need to adjust it, right? Say top also 20% and width, and from left 40%. Something like this. Hello? But this 20% is coming from here. So how much you are going to adjust in this way? Correct? So this is the layout. For this layout, you might create this layout by means of, or you might create something like this by means of absolute positioning. But in the complex layouts, or in the complex structure like this, new collection, two buttons. So everything you cannot do with the positioning. That's what I wanted to show you. I was expecting this position you will say, and you got to the problem. So everything cannot be managed by means of positioning. Like this example, if you see here, how much you are going to manage and the numbers you are going to place, 20%, 40%, they will remain. What's the guarantee that they will remain same for all the screen sizes? Presently, we are not considering the screen size like mobile, tablet, and other thing. We are not considering that devices, and that's why absolute layout will work on one screen perfectly. But what about other screens? So whenever you talk about other screens, absolute positioning or positioning system that you have learned yesterday might not work. And at that point, layouts come into the picture. So this was a question in front of us. This is a question. So this div and this div, how do you place these two divs? How do you place these two divs one after other? That is not possible if you don't use anything like a layout. So there comes what you can say, a layouting system. Now if you see here, a main is there, and into the main there are two divs, info div, image div. Info div, image div. So we can do something to this main. Display flex. Display flex. The minute you say display flex, something else will happen. Now see, I will remove this absolute positioning. So till your yesterday's knowledge, this is correct answer. Refresh it. Can you see automatically something has happened? And natural ordering of the HTML element is top to bottom, right? Naturally, HTML elements are placed top to bottom. Top to bottom means if one button is placed over here, another would be placed over here, another would be placed over here, like this, top to bottom, vertical. Now here what has happened, internally two things has happened. So display flex means what has happened, flex direction row. So this has happened automatically. So when you simply write display flex, automatically this line gets considered. Hello? But natural direction of the HTML element is column, means vertical, top to bottom. And when you say display flex, default direction of the display flex is row. Okay, is what? Row. So before going over here, layouts, Flexbox and other things, actually we need to create the pages for this thing. Just a minute. Turn into page. This also turn into page. Okay, and here we can understand why I'm writing here. Go to the Flexbox like this, and before moving ahead, we need to understand display property. Display property. So if you see, one value of the display property we have seen now, display flex. Hello? So when you talk about the display, how do you elements inside the box, how elements are placed? The display property in the CSS, can you see one value we have added? display flex. There are other values also. H2 display property. So instead we to write it into the Flexbox. So here we can say new page display property. Display property. So display property, what it does? Display property in the CSS specifies how an HTML element should be rendered and displayed on the web page. How HTML element should be rendered and displayed on the web page. It controls behavior and arrangement of the elements. It controls layout behavior of the element, that is the arrangement, and affects its visibility, box model, and interaction with the other elements. The display property, see here, the display property essentially defines the type of the box and elements generate. There are various values. To the display property. So presently we have seen display flex only, and yesterday we have seen two things: display none and display none and yeah, correct. Display none and display block. So display none means what? It will remove the element from the HTML page. Display block means what? It will add that element into the HTML page. We will write it. Okay. Just give me a minute. We will write it. Okay, display property. So first value of the display property, display block. We have seen this thing yesterday. What happens when you use display block? Am I audible? display block, then display none, display block, display none. Today we have seen something called as flex. We are going to see few more things. We are going to see few more things. Okay, I will add it later on, no problem. Turn to heading 3, display grid. Okay, and there are similar to the block, there is something called as inline block, similar to the block only. Understanding is same. So what happens if you use a display block or renders? What this does, renders element as an block level box. It takes up the full width. See? It takes up the full width of the parent container and starts on a new line. Commonly used to structure the elements like headings, paragraphs, and the divs. Right? Display none completely hides elements from the layout. The element doesn't take up any space. And isn't visible on the page. Commonly used for hiding elements dynamically via JavaScripting. Right? So these two things, display block and display none, used in the JavaScript. We are going to see that. And what is the display flex and grid? That we are understanding. We will understand that. But whenever you talk about the display property in the CSS, how an HTML element should be rendered and displayed on the web page. Remember that? How an HTML element would be rendered and displayed on the web page. Correct? That is the responsibility of the display. Now, when you say Flexbox, first adjustment we do with the container, remember that this is a container, we add a display flex and we give a direction. So default direction of the Flexbox is the row. Row means what? Display flex and flex direction row. Can you see? If I remove the display flex, the default direction is top to bottom, that is column. Default direction is what? Column. Correct? Remember, this is an interview type question. Expert people are not able to answer this question. What is the default direction? And what is the default direction of the flex? And what is the default direction of the block? When I say block, I am referring display block. What is the default direction of block? Right? And what is the default direction of the flex? Display flex. Default is row. But you can play with these things. So direction, see, row is there and row reverse is there. Reverse, see now what will happen. Can you see? First, if you have seen very carefully, this is the reverse. I just make a comment to this. Row reverse and row. Look at the image colors. Can you see the 40% will come in the beginning, and then 60% will come in the beginning in case of row. and this dark one will go at the last. See, reversal is happening, right? So this comes first and this goes last. Hello? You got it? What do you mean by row reverse? See what will happen. It will just reversing. It will start from there. Row reverse. Similarly, flex display direction can be column. Flex direction can be column. Column means natural ordering. Can you see this? So all the divs will place below each other. And there is a column reverse also. And there is a what? Column reverse also available. Column reverse. So what will happen? So see at the bottom. So this is, it will start from the bottom. Reverse means this is the first, this is the second, third, fourth, fifth, like that. At the bottom, can you see? At the bottom. So flex and flex direction, reverse and normal direction. Flex direction decides how elements would be arranged, row in a row manner, column in a column manner. Correct? Row in a row manner, column in a column manner. So elements are arranged in this way. We have these two divs with us. We have these two divs with us. And with the two divs we are playing. Okay? So info div, image div. So I will place this demo over here. I will come back to this demo a little bit later on. Okay? Or just comment these two divs, and here we can say, sorry, one div, 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 and div. 5 divs we have. Okay. Now, so these two divs we will work on a little bit later on, and then we can say dot box width, we can say 10%, height we can say 10%, box, and border 1px solid white, and let's apply box, 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 refresh it. Can you see these are our boxes? Okay, just change the display direction. I will comment this out. Row. Can you see these elements are placed like this? If you want to give a color, we need to create the separate classes. We can create that as well. No problem. Let's create box hyphen, we can say red, or dot red box, dot green box, dot blue box, dot yellow box, dot orange box. Okay, and let's give background color property, red over here, green over here. Hello, blue over here, yellow over here, orange like this, and space, red box, green box, blue box, yellow box, orange box. You can add n number of CSS to one element. Can you see that? With the white background, correct? Now see, this is the content of the Flexbox. Main is what? Flexbox. Yes or no? What is the main? It's the Flexbox, correct? Main is Flexbox. So here I can add comment, directions. Directions. These are the directions. Now remember that your flex is arranged on the row. On what? Row. So in technical terms, row is called as, so whatever your display direction is, that is called as main axis. Hello? So what is the main axis? Row. Horizontal is whatever horizontal x, whatever horizontal axis is, that is called as main axis. Then what is cross axis? The perpendicular to the main axis. So this is the cross, this is the main axis, and perpendicular to the cross axis, that is the column. So row becomes main axis, column becomes cross axis. Row becomes main axis here, and column becomes cross axis. Yes or no? Row becomes main axis, column becomes cross axis. Now you tell me, if I change this to column, who becomes what? Who is the main axis? Who is a, sorry, if I change it to the column, who is the main axis? Who is the cross axis? In this case, I have changed it to the column. Yeah, main axis is column and cross axis is row, correct? So if I refresh it, this will happen in this way. So remember that. So main axis and cross axis are the two terms you need to remember. Anyways, we are going to write it in our notes, but this is the content, and content is aligned across the main axis. And when you say main axis, it is a row. In this case, who decides the what is the main axis? Display direction decides, flex direction decides main and cross axis. Okay. Now let's go ahead. So for the content, these divs are the content. For the content, there are some properties in the Flexbox. Okay. So when I say justify content, what justify content will do? Justify content, aligning the elements across the main axis. So in the technical documents, you will find this terminology. What justify content does? Works on the main axis. Works on what? Main axis. Now there are different values. If you see justify content center, refresh it, everything will come to the center. Okay, justify content. Okay, let's add these things below the directions, content related things, and here I can add content related things, content justification, content justify. So this justify means our this icon. So let's add some text over here, and here I can say hello world, hello world. Okay, can you see this alignment or justify? Left or start, something like this. Yeah, now see, little space is there. Now it's at the center. Can you see text is placed at the center? But if I say, can you see, it goes to the start, it goes to the end, it goes to the center. That's what we are trying to do with the justification. Justify center, justify start, which is default, start, end, it will go to the end. So we have seen center, start, end, right? Center. So I can say justify center, justify start, justify end. Okay, that's what the justification is. Presently let's keep at the center. I'll comment this also. There are few more properties. Comment one by one. Justify content. Now see how many properties are there. Space evenly. See now what do you mean by space evenly? Can you see that? Here is some even space between the elements. All these elements would be evenly spaced. All these elements would be evenly spaced. Now what do you mean by evenly spaced? Can you see even space is there at the start, at the end of the element. So this is the element, even space at the start, at the end. Similarly to this, even space at the start, at the end, even space at the start, at the end. Okay, evenly. The space between, so there would be no space at the start, but there would be even space between the elements. Even space between the elements. Space related to the space we have seen. Around, space between, space evenly, space around. Around means what? There would be some space around each element, not even space. Can you see? This is not even space than this, correct? But some space around the element would be there, and that is nothing but what? Space around. Okay. Now content justification around or content justification on the main axis. Similarly, you can justify content on the cross axis also. Who is the main axis in our case right now? And who is the cross axis? Column. So what we can do, justify center. I will turn on this. So like this, Now content justify, main axis, main axis, content justify, content justify, or content align, cross axis. So here we can say align items, align items. You can say center. See now what happens. Can you see here? Center of your complete. This is exactly at the center of your main. Main is nothing but that. Can you see? You can arrange the elements, arrange the content. You can arrange the content either on the row or on the column, right? Align items center. Similarly, you can expect align items start, which is the default over here. Align items end, align items end. This is start, end, right? Presently, we have only one item, one row. Presently, now let's try to do this thing, which will not have any effect actually. Align items end and align items. Can you see center, end, normal, safe, stretch? Let's not worry about those things. But if you see center, align items start, align items center, align items start. So we can do like this, both center. Now at the center, you can apply space around. That is also possible, no problem. Can you see at the center? You can do this thing, or at the center. Okay, I would like to add all the properties that I have used. Space around, space between, and what space? Evenly. Correct? Hello? Am I audible or not? So center, start, end, space around, space between, space evenly. Right? So I will enable these two, center and align items center. Correct? Now, okay. So this is related to the Flexbox one. There are few more properties, but we will see. I will add it Flexbox CSS3 Flexbox basics. I have pushed the code. Please go through the code in a minute and let me know for any questions. Just check the code. Any question? When? Say that again. Your voice is not clear. Your voice is not clear. Yeah. Uh-huh. Then apply what? If you want to see, flex direction row means row, main axis. Flex direction column means main axis is column, cross axis is row. Perpendicular axis is always row. Sorry, perpendicular axis is cross axis. Okay. What was your question exactly? One content is there on the main axis. No, I'm not understanding your question. Hello? Uh-huh. Yeah, whenever you say one direction at a time, either it can be row or it can be column, but not both. And that's why whenever we write the thing about Flexbox, you'll get to know Flexbox is unidirectional. Means that it can be either row or column, but not the both. It can, you can also call it as one dimensional system. Flexbox is a one dimensional system. Only row or the column at a time. It can be either row or column at a time. Correct? That's what, that is the Flexbox is. And if you want to go with the multi-dimensional system or two-dimensional system, we are going to learn the grid layout. Okay. There are a few more properties of the Flexbox we will see later on. But let's write it down. What is a Flexbox? Flexible box layout. When you talk, so we have seen practically now. Now we are writing it into the theory. That's the process of reverse engineering. First we will learn. First we will see what exactly happening. Then we will discuss and then we will write it. Correct? CSS3 Flexbox is a powerful layout. So CSS3 Flexbox is a powerful layout. Just a minute. Yeah, it simplifies the complex layout challenges. It simplifies the complex layout challenges such as creating the responsive designs, and evenly distributing the space between items without relying on the floats and positioning hacks. Can you see? Without relying on the floats and positioning hacks. Hello? Without relying on the floats and positioning hacks. Now, deliberately I didn't cover the floats because I wanted that to be managed in a flex box. But we can cover the floats also. Float left, float right. That is something you need to know, but that is outdated way of working with the CSS. Immediate way, is the Flexbox. So positions we have seen, right? Similarly, there is something called as float. Okay. Flexbox is particularly useful when you are designing the dynamic layout that adapt to the various screen sizes and orientations. So again and again you might have hearing one word from me, various screen sizes and the orientations. So how to work with that? That also we will see, but not immediately. We will go very slow with the CSS Flexbox and the grid layout. Key features and concepts of the CSS Flexbox: main axis and the cross axis. Main axis and the cross axis. Flex container and the flex items. Flex containers and the flex items. Main features we will see. Then flex direction, that also we have seen, right? Content justification also we have seen. Aligning the items. Now next thing, flex wrap. Next thing we didn't see, we will see that tomorrow. Sorry, flex wrap. Flex, this also we will see tomorrow. Flex basis grow and shrink. What do you mean by that? That we will see tomorrow. Now here, just a minute, let me format the doc. Flex direction, all the things we have seen related to the flex direction. Aligning the items. Flex wrap we will see tomorrow. And aligning the items. If you see here, we have used align items, but there is something called as align content. What is this? Also we will see tomorrow. Okay. What do you mean by aligning content? That also we will see tomorrow. Align content. So main axis, cross axis, flex container, flex items, few main features. Yeah, let us see now main axis and the cross axis. We have discussed this part. The Flexbox operates along two axes. The main axis horizontal by default, row, I can say that is row, and the cross axis vertical by default, that is column. Items within the flex container are laid out along these axes. Items within the container laid along this axis. The flex container and the flex items. Some important concepts. The flex container in which we is the container to which we apply the display flex. Correct? That becomes the flex container, and its direct children becomes the flex item. So in this case, main is the flex container and all these divs are flex, and all these divs are flex items. Correct? So whenever someone says that flex items, they are referring to the content of the flex box. Okay. Now here you can see main features. Under the main features, the flexible container. The flexible container, why it is called as flexible, you will get to know whenever we will work with the responsiveness. You will get to know the flexible container. The flex container expands and shrinks to accommodate the flex items. Flex items, flex item inside the container can grow or shrink. The flex item inside the container can grow or shrink or maintain their default size based on the flexible rules, whatever we have provided. Now flex direction defines the direction of the main axis. Defines the direction of the main axis. It can be row, row reverse, column, column reverse. Justify content determines how flex items are distributed. Justify content determines how flex items are distributed along the main axis. It controls alignment of items when extra space within the container, space around, space between, right? Space evenly. Now it can set to, just a minute. Let's write it down that as well. So justify content, flex start, justify content, flex start, then justify content, flex end. Okay, justify content, flex center, justify content, space between, justify content, space around, justify content, space evenly. Okay, so flex start, it's a default value. Flex items are packed towards the start of the main axis. Flex items are packed towards the start of the main axis. Then for the row, so here you can see for the row direction, item aligns to the left, for the column at the top. Correct? Flex item at the end, packed towards the end. Right? For the row, the direction for the row direction, item aligns to the right, and for the column, item aligns to the bottom. Okay, flex item centered along the main axis. Flex items centered along the main axis. Items are equally spaced. Items are equally spaced from the both sides. Flex items, space between, you can say. Flex items are evenly distributed along the main axis. The first item aligns with the start. See now, the first item aligns with the start and the last item aligns with the end, and the remaining space is distributed between the items, right? Space around flex items, here we can say, the flex items are evenly distributed along the main axis with the equal space around them. Space is distributed before the space is distributed before first item and after the last item as well. Flex items are spaced evenly. Flex items are evenly distributed along the main axis with the equal space between them. We have seen this thing practically, right? Then yeah, the value is similar to the space around, but space is evenly divided. This is the property. This is the property, this is the property, this is the property, and this is also the property. Okay, justify content, align items. Okay, let's write the properties for flex direction also. If we have written in detail, flex direction, okay, justify content. Here are hello, here are the values that can be used for justify content. Flex direction, the flex direction property, flex direction property is a fundamental part of the CSS Flexbox layout. It determines the direction in which items are laid out within the flex container. The flex items can be arranged either horizontally, that is a row, or vertical, that is column. Vertical, that is column, based on the flex direction property. Here are the values that can be used for flex direction. Flex direction row, correct? Then flex direction row reverse, row reverse. Then flex direction column, then flex direction column reverse, correct? It's the default value, it's the default value. Then flex items are laid out in a horizontal row from the left to right. The main axis runs horizontally and cross axis runs vertically if it is a row. Hello, am I audible? Am I audible? Yeah, flex direction row we are understanding. Default value, flex items are laid out horizontal row from the left to right. The main axis runs horizontally, cross axis vertically. Row reverse, flex items are laid out horizontal. Row reverse, see now, flex items are laid out in a horizontal row from right to left. The order of the items is reversed. The order of the items is reversed compared to the default row. Flex direction column, the flex items are laid out in a vertical column or from top to bottom. The main axis runs vertically. The main axis runs vertically and the cross axis runs horizontally. Flex items in reverse are laid out in vertical column from the bottom to top, right? And here the items are reversed as compared to the flex direction column. Column reverse. Okay, justify content and this thing. Now align items. Align items. We have seen align items. Align items. Very important topic. If you master this thing, you will understand Bootstrap and other thing very easily, because Bootstrap is built on the top of Flexbox. Okay, so align items. The align items property is a part of the CSS Flexbox layout model. It controls how flex items are aligned along the cross axis of the container. Remember that this is very important. And this is the main axis, right? It controls alignment of flex item along the main axis. It controls the alignment along the cross axis of the container. The cross axis is a perpendicular to the main axis. The cross axis is perpendicular to the main axis, which is determined by the flex direction property. Here are some values for this. Align items flex start, align items flex start, align items flex end, align items flex center, align items flex baseline, and flex stretch. It's a align items stretch. Flex start, it's a default value. Flex items are aligned at the start of the cross axis, right? For the row align to top, for the column align to left. For the row, items align to top, for the column items align to left. Flex end, flex items are aligned at the end of the cross axis. For row, end of the cross axis. For row direction, items aligned to the bottom. For the column, items aligned to the right. Center, flex items are centered along the cross axis. Items are vertically centered within the container's height. Items are vertically centered within the container's height. Baseline, flex items are aligned such that their baselines are on the same line. So we will see this tomorrow, these two things, or it's easy, that's not difficult. Take it as a homework. Align items baseline and align items stretch. Now here if you can see, align items stretch, items are stretched to fill the container's cross dimensions. I will show you, don't worry. And this ensures that all the items have the same height. Okay, let's go here. Align item stretch, align item stretch. This is the center. Okay, we need something else for this baseline. Okay, it will not work in this way. That's why I have not covered it. But remember that we need some different kind of layout, but it will work, not an issue. And we are going to see this over align content. At this time you will understand those two concepts. Let's remove it from here. Let's work on only two which are important. Align items center. Correct? So these many things we have seen today. Flexbox we have seen. Flexbox we have seen, display property we have seen theory, right? And very small concept is there, very little concept is there. CSS3 floats as a part of layouts only or structuring only, we will see that page. But if you use, I'm repeating again, if you use CSS3 floats, if you use Flexbox, you don't require these things. Even this positions also not required. Floats also not required. If you are working with the Flexbox, Flexbox can build any kind of system. The combination of the grid and flex is very quality combination, right? But still we will see what are the CSS positions we have seen, floats and the layouts. So we have covered the Flexbox, how exactly Flexbox is working, that we have seen. Now there are few more things: flex wrap, flex basis, flex grow, flex shrink, and align items, align content. We will see this thing tomorrow. If you have any question, go ahead and ask me. Let me push this much code first, or I already have pushed. Yeah, formatting. And if time permits, we will implement this layout tomorrow. We will implement this guy tomorrow, or if we see something else, we will see day after tomorrow. Okay. Yeah. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask me. Your document is up to date. Okay. Say that again. Homework. So I will give you the homework tomorrow. Okay. Lot of homeworks I have for this week. Tomorrow I will share that. If you need today's homework, day 11 and 12. So this is day 11 and 12. So build this layout, build below layout using positions, build below layout using Flexbox. Flexbox, no positioning system you need to use, completely flex. Or you can add few more things. Here also one button, here also one button. Correct? Or just keep in this way only. Just try to add these buttons using Flexbox, using Flex Layout. Okay. If you have any question, go ahead and ask me. Otherwise, we are good to conclude the today's session. Your mic settings are not proper. I think you use headphone and headphone is not working properly. If you are using headphone, make sure that you are using headphones mic and not laptop's mic.
Hello.
Now it is good.
Hello.
What happened? Okay. Fine. Let's call it for a day. We will meet tomorrow. Okay? Yeah. Thank you.